The warning sirens blared across Station Calith 9, a diplomatic outpost floating in the dark between stars. Ambassador Velthar's 4 eyes widened as his displays showed something impossible. A ship had appeared from nowhere. Not jumped through the gate, not warped from known space, just appeared. "Run identification scans," Velthar ordered, his translator making his clicks and whistles into galactic standard. His aide, a young Torvian named Peck, worked frantically at the console. "Ambassador, the ship does not match any known design. The hull composition is unknown. The energy signature is unlike anything in our databases." Velthar felt his chest tighten. The Galactic Coalition was already losing a war against the collective swarm. They did not need another unknown threat. "Hail them." Standard first contact protocols. The view screen flickered. Velthar had seen many species in his long career. He thought he knew what to expect from the universe, but the face that appeared made his blood run cold with recognition that came from somewhere deep in racial memory. The being had 2 eyes, binocular vision like a hunter, hair on its head, a strange brown color, smooth skin in a tan shade. It wore a dark uniform with silver markings. Behind it, others of its kind moved with purpose and efficiency. "This is Captain Hyundai of the Earth vessel Horizon's Edge," the being said in perfect galactic standard. "We received your broadcast. You called for help, Earth." The word hung in the air like a ghost. Velthar had heard that name before, buried in the oldest texts. The legends spoke of the Old Ones, the first species to achieve faster-than-light travel. They had explored the galaxy, left markers, and then vanished without explanation. "That was 800 cycles ago. You are human," Velthar whispered. Captain Hyundai tilted his head, an expression Velthar's software identified as curiosity. "Yes. I am surprised you remember. It has been a long time since we spoke to the galaxy. We thought you were extinct, or a myth." A smile crossed the human's face. It showed teeth, flat teeth in front, but pointed ones on the sides. Omnivore teeth, predator teeth. "Neither. We chose isolation. We watched. We listened. But we did not interfere. Until now." Another human appeared beside the captain. This one was female, with long dark hair tied back. Her nameplate read Dr. Nari Bora. She carried a data pad and had kind eyes that somehow made Velthar feel both safe and nervous. "Captain, we are receiving multiple distress signals from the border sectors," Nari said. "The swarm is pushing hard." Velthar's heart sank. "You know of the swarm? We have watched your war for 3 cycles, Hyundai said simply. "We know everything. The swarm appeared 4 cycles ago. They do not communicate. They do not negotiate. They consume worlds and move on. You have lost 47 planets. Your fleets are exhausted. Your people are afraid. Then you know we are dying," Velthar said bitterly. "The coalition was built for peace. We do not understand war like this. We fight with honor. We protect civilians. We follow rules. The swarm has no rules. They just kill and eat and multiply." A third human appeared on screen. Younger, male, with sharp eyes that never stopped moving. His uniform marked him as military. Lieutenant Jiho Kang. Captain. Tactical analysis complete. The swarm's patterns suggest they will reach the core worlds within 2 cycles if current trends continue. Hyundai nodded slowly. "Ambassador Velthar, my people would like to meet with your coalition leaders. We need to understand your situation fully before we decide how to proceed." "Decide?" Velthar felt hope and desperation mix in his chest. "You would consider helping us?" That is why we came out of the dark," the captain said. "Humanity has been alone for a long time. Perhaps too long. We forgot that the galaxy is not empty. When we heard your cries for help, we remembered something important. What is that? That isolation is survival, but connection is living. The meeting was arranged for 2 days later on Calith 9. Velthar stood in the docking bay as the human shuttle arrived. It was small, efficient, and made of metals that his scanners could barely identify. When the door opened, 5 humans stepped out. Captain Hyundai led them. Dr. Naribora followed, carrying cases of equipment. Lieutenant Jiho Kang swept the room with eyes that missed nothing. 2 others came last, both in different uniforms that suggested different specialties. What struck Velthar immediately was how they moved. Every species in the coalition moved differently based on their evolution. The Torvians were slow and careful. The Zelki were quick and nervous. The Horvath were steady and methodical. But humans moved with a fluid purpose that spoke of efficiency earned through millions of years of evolution. Ambassador, Hyundai said, extending his hand. Velthar had read about this gesture. The handshake. A greeting from ancient Earth. He extended his own 3-fingered hand and felt the firm grip. Warm. Strong. Controlled. The meeting room was filled with representatives from all 12 coalition species. General Theknor, of the Horvath military, stood as the humans entered. He was large, nearly 3 meters tall, with thick armor-like skin. He looked at the humans with obvious skepticism. These small beings are the legendary humans? Theknor's voice rumbled. They do not look impressive. Nari smiled. It was not unkind. We find that people often underestimate us. It usually works in our favor. Nari smiled. It usually works in our favor. For 3 hours, the coalition explained their situation. They showed battle footage. The swarm ships looked like insects, all chitin and strange organic technology. They moved in masses, overwhelming through numbers. The coalition fleets fought bravely but were always outnumbered, always outmaneuvered. Hyundai watched silently. Jiho took notes on a device. Nari asked questions about biology and tactics. The other 2 humans remained quiet, observing. Why do you not target their hive ships? Jiho asked suddenly. We do, General Theknor said. But they are too well protected. Our weapons cannot penetrate their hulls before we are destroyed. You fight from range, Hyundai observed. You use formation tactics. You try to minimize casualties. Of course, Velthar said. That is how civilized species wage war. Something passed between the humans. A look that Velthar could not quite read. Nari spoke gently. Ambassador, I think we need to explain something about humanity. We are not like you. How so? You are all prey species, she said. Every single one of you evolved as creatures that were hunted. Your instincts tell you to run, to hide, to survive. There is no shame in that. It is what you are. And humans? Theknor demanded. We are predators, Hyundai said quietly. We evolved hunting. Our eyes face forward to judge distance to prey. Our bodies are built for endurance and pursuit. Our minds are wired for strategy and ambush. We do not know how to be prey, because we never were. The room fell silent. Before anyone could respond, alarms shrieked. The station's defensive coordinator burst into the room. Swarm forces! They found us! 15 ships, closing fast. Everyone moved toward escape routes. But the humans did not run. Hyundai tapped his communicator. Horizon's edge. This is the captain. We have hostiles incoming. Activate defensive protocols. Captain, Velthar said urgently. We must evacuate. The station cannot withstand an assault. Hyundai looked at him with those forward-facing predator eyes. Ambassador. I think it is time we show you what humans do when we are threatened. The captain smiled. We do not run. We fight back. The swarm ships came through the dark like locusts. 15 vessels, each one twice the size of the small human ship. Their hulls were organic, covered in chitin plates, and pulsing with bioluminescent fluids. They did not hail. They did not warn. They simply opened fire. Station Calith 9's shields flared and died within seconds. The Coalition ships in the area began emergency jumps, following standard protocol. Evacuate. Survive. Regroup. This was how the Coalition fought. They preserved lives above all else. The Horizon's Edge did not jump away. Velthar watched from the command center, his 4 eyes locked on the tactical display. The human ship moved in a way that defied his understanding. It did not retreat. It accelerated toward the swarm fleet. "They are going to die," General Theknor said, his voice heavy. Brave, perhaps, but foolish. Captain Hyundai stood calmly at the communication station, speaking to his ship. Weapons free. Evasive pattern. Delta. Target the lead ships. The first swarm vessel fired a plasma burst that should have vaporized the human ship, but the Horizon's Edge rolled, twisted, and dove in a maneuver so sudden that Velthar's translator software struggled to track it. The plasma missed by meters. Then the human ship returned fire. The weapons were not like Coalition technology. No bright beams. No plasma spheres. Instead, solid projectiles moving at incredible speeds struck the swarm ship's hull. The rounds punched through chitin armor like it was paper. "Kinetic weapons," Jiho said from beside Velthar. The lieutenant had remained on the station with his captain. "We call them railguns. Old technology by galactic standards, but very effective." "Why do you use such primitive weapons?" Theknor asked. "Because they work," Jiho replied simply. "Your energy weapons are beautiful and efficient, but our guns never run out of power. They just need metal and velocity." On screen, the Horizon's Edge continued its impossible dance. It moved between swarm ships, using them as shields against each other. It fired in bursts, each shot precisely aimed at weak points in the organic armor. 2 swarm ships exploded, a third vented atmosphere, and went dark. Dr. Naribora stood nearby, watching with a scientist's detachment. The swarm expects prey behavior. They expect you to run. When something fights back aggressively, their tactics break down. They are not actually that intelligent individually. They rely on overwhelming numbers. "One ship cannot defeat 15, Velthar insisted, even as he watched another swarm vessel die. "You are right," Hyundai said. "But we do not need to defeat them all. We just need to damage them enough that they retreat. The swarm preserves its resources. If the cost becomes too high, they withdraw." He was correct. After losing 6 ships, the remaining swarm vessels suddenly turned and fled into dark space. The Horizon's Edge did not pursue. It returned to the station, its hull scarred but intact. "Impossible," Theknor whispered. Hyundai turned to face the Coalition leaders. "General, Ambassador, we have seen enough. Humanity will enter this war. But we need to do this properly. We need to witness a major engagement to understand the full scope of the swarm's capabilities." 3 days later, Velthar found himself aboard a Coalition battlecruiser, the Steady Light. It was part of a defensive fleet protecting the agricultural world of Preem 5. 20 Coalition ships against an expected swarm force of unknown size. 2 human ships accompanied them, the Horizon's Edge and a sister ship called the Morning Star. On board the Morning Star was Major Yuna Taeyang, commander of Human Marine Forces. Velthar had met her briefly. She was shorter than Captain Hyundai, but she moved like a coiled spring. Her eyes held a sharpness that made even General Theknor uncomfortable. The swarm arrived in force. Not 20 ships. Not 30. 50 vessels dropped out of dark space. A wave of organic nightmares that filled the tactical display with red markers. "All ships, defensive formation," the Coalition admiral ordered. "Protect the evacuation shuttles. We must buy time for the civilians." The Coalition fleet formed a wall between the swarm and the planet. They fought with courage. They followed every protocol. They coordinated their fire, supported each other, and never broke formation. They were also losing. Swarm ships ignored casualties. For every 1 destroyed, 2 more pushed forward. They fired bioplasma that ate through shields. They launched boarding pods filled with creatures that terrified coalition soldiers. "This is how every battle goes," Velthar said quietly to Nari, who was observing from the steady light. "We fight with honor. We protect the weak. And we lose." Nari did not respond immediately. She watched the battle with an intensity that Velthar found unsettling. Finally, she spoke. "You fight the way peaceful species fight when forced to war. You minimize risk. You value individual lives. These are beautiful principles, but they do not win wars," Velthar finished bitterly. "No," Nari agreed. "They do not." A coalition cruiser exploded, torn apart by concentrated swarm fire. Velthar felt his heart clench. 2,000 crew. Gone in seconds. Then Major Yuna's voice cut through the command channel. "Coalition forces, this is Taeyang. We are deploying Marine units to the damaged ships. Do not abandon your wounded. We are coming to get them." "Negative," the Admiral responded. "Those ships are lost. You will die if you board them." "Admiral, with respect, we are going anyway." The Morning Star launched a dozen small craft. They were assault shuttles, heavily armored and fast. They dove through swarm fire toward the crippled coalition ships. Velthar watched, certain he was about to witness brave humans die. The shuttles reached their targets. Human Marines in powered armor cut through airlocks and breached the dying ships. The armor was bulky, covered in weapons and tools, but the Marines moved with practiced efficiency. Velthar watched through a security feed as Marines reached a group of wounded Torvian sailors. The Torvians were dying from bioplasma burns, their bodies shutting down from toxins. A human medic, identifiable by the red cross on her armor, administered something from a hypo spray. "What is she giving them?" Velthar asked. "Universal antitoxin," Nari said. "We developed it by studying coalition biology. It is not perfect, but it will keep them alive until proper treatment." The Marines carried wounded coalition soldiers toward the shuttles. They took fire from swarm boarding creatures. The creatures were fast, multi-limbed things with razor claws. They had killed many coalition soldiers in previous engagements. They could not kill the human Marines. A swarm creature leaped at a Marine, claws extended. The Marine caught it in mid-air, crushed its head with one armored hand, and threw the corpse aside without breaking stride. Another Marine used a weapon that spat metal slugs, shredding 3 creatures in seconds. "They are so strong," Theknor said, watching in disbelief. "That armor must be enhancing their abilities." "The armor helps," Nari admitted. "But Yuna herself can lift twice her body weight without assistance. Most humans can. We evolved in higher gravity than you. Our world is what we call a death world. Everything about it tried to kill us as we evolved." "Higher gravity?" Velthar looked at her. "How much higher?" "About 30% more than galactic standard. Our bones are denser. Our muscles are stronger. What feels normal to you feels light to us." The shuttles returned, with over 300 rescued coalition soldiers. Impossible, but happening before Velthar's eyes. The battle continued. The coalition was still being pushed back. Then the Horizon's Edge and Morning Star changed their tactics. "Coalition fleet, this is Captain Hyundai. We are going to demonstrate something. Please maintain your defensive positions." "What are they doing?" the Admiral asked. The 2 human ships accelerated directly into the swarm formation. They did not dodge. They did not weave. They went straight in, shields at maximum. Then they started spinning. Both ships rotated on their central axis, firing weapons from all sides. They moved through the swarm fleet like blades, cutting and tearing. Swarm ships tried to swarm them, to overwhelm them with numbers, but the human ships endured impacts that would have destroyed coalition vessels. Their hulls were made of materials that bent instead of breaking. "Their ships can take more damage," Jiho explained from his station. "We over-engineer everything. Coalition ships are beautiful and efficient. Human ships are ugly and tough. We build them expecting them to be damaged." Within 20 minutes, the swarm formation broke. They lost too many ships too quickly. The organic vessels retreated, leaving the coalition victorious for the first time in months. The fleet returned to the nearest starbase, Velthar met with Captain Hyundai and Major Yuna in a debriefing room. Engineer Wu Isol was there too. A quiet human with clever hands who had been examining Coalition technology. "We can help you," Hyundai said without preamble. "But you need to understand what that means. Humanity fights differently. We do not value honor over victory. We do not preserve resources over winning. When we go to war, we go all in." "You said you are predators," Velthar said slowly. "I am beginning to understand what that means." Yuna leaned forward. "Ambassador, predators do not hunt for sport. We hunt to survive. And when we hunt, we do not stop until the prey is dead. Can your people accept that?" Velthar thought of burning worlds, of lost colonies, of civilians consumed by the swarm. He thought of his own children, living in fear. "Yes," he said. "We can accept that. Please, help us survive." Hyundai nodded. "Then we are committed. Earth is sending more ships. Our military is mobilizing. We will need access to your strategic databases and full intelligence on the swarm." "You will have everything," General Theknor promised. Isul spoke up, her voice soft but confident. "I have been studying your shield generators. With your permission, I would like to modify them. I can increase their effectiveness by 60% using some human engineering principles." "Please," the general said. "Do whatever you need." As the meeting ended and the coalition leaders left, Velthar paused at the door. "Captain Hyundai, may I ask something?" "Of course. Why did you wait so long? If humanity is this powerful, why did you hide for 800 cycles?" The captain's expression turned sad. "Because power comes with responsibility. And responsibility comes with cost. We knew that the moment we revealed ourselves, we could never go back to isolation. We would be part of the galaxy's problems forever. And now we have chosen. We will stand with you. But Ambassador, you should know something." "What is that?" "When this is over, the galaxy will never be the same. Humanity does not do anything halfway. We are going to end the swarm. But in doing so, we will change everything." Velthar looked at the human captain, this predator from a death world, and felt both hope and fear. "Good," he said finally. "We need change. We need you." Hyundai smiled. "Then let us show the swarm what happens when prey becomes predator." The colony world of Talvera was dying. Velthar watched the tactical display with growing despair as swarm forces tightened their grip around the planet. 40 swarm ships orbited the world, launching wave after wave of biocraft toward the surface. Below, 3 million colonists huddled in shelters, waiting for rescue that would not come in time. "Evacuation estimate?" General Theknor asked the Coalition Fleet Coordinator. 22 hours at current rate, sir. But the swarm will breach the main cities in 14 hours. We cannot save them all." The general's massive frame slumped. "Begin prioritizing essential personnel and children. We save who we can." "Negative," a new voice cut in. Captain Hyundai appeared on the communication screen. "We are 2 hours out with a task force. Hold evacuation. Captain, you do not understand. We have 40 enemy ships. You cannot. General, please trust us." 2 hours. The line went dead. Theknor looked at Velthar. "What are they planning?" "I do not know," Velthar admitted. "But I have learned not to underestimate them." 90 minutes later, 3 human ships dropped out of dark space at the edge of the Talvera system. Not the horizon's edge. These were combat vessels. Frigates designed for war. Their names were simple: Steel Wind, Iron Rain, and Stone Wall. 3 ships against 40, Theknor said. They are going to die. On board the Steel Wind, Commander Ara Minho sat in the pilot's seat of a fighter craft. Around her, 23 other pilots performed final checks on their vehicles. The fighters were small, fast, and lightly armored. They were called Spears, and they were designed for one purpose: hit hard and survive. "All wings, this is Ara," she said calmly. "Target priority is the orbital weapons platforms. Kill those first. The swarm ships second. Standard attack pattern, Echo 5. Echo 5? Her wingmate asked. Commander, that is the suicide run. Aura smiled inside her helmet. Correction. It is the run that Coalition species think is suicide. We are human. We can handle it. The 3 frigates accelerated at speeds that made Coalition sensors scream warnings. They were pulling gravitational forces that would kill any Coalition pilot. Humans called it 12 Gs, 12 times normal gravity. Inside the ships, every crew member was locked into acceleration couches, breathing through oxygen masks, their bodies straining but holding. This is insane. A Torvian observer on the Coalition flagship whispered, watching the human approach. They are all going to black out. Dr. Nari Bora, who was observing from the same bridge, shook her head. Humans evolved for endurance hunting. We chased prey for hours across open plains. Our hearts are strong. Our blood vessels are adapted for pressure. What kills you only taxes us. The swarm fleet reacted slowly. They were used to enemies that approached carefully. The human ships came like meteors, closing the distance in minutes instead of hours. Era launched her fighter at maximum velocity. Behind her, 23 more spears shot from the Steel Wind's Bay. The other 2 frigates launched their own wings, 72 human fighters against 40 massive swarm ships. Break and attack, Era commanded. The fighters scattered like a school of fish, each one moving independently but somehow coordinated. They dove through the swarm formation, targeting the organic weapons platforms that were bombarding the planet's surface. Ara's targeting computer locked onto a biocannon. She fired missiles, then accelerated directly at the platform. Warning alarms screamed as swarm point defense systems tracked her. Plasma bursts filled the space around her fighter. She did not dodge. She flew straight through the fire. Her shields flared and died. Plasma scorched her fighter's hull. But she kept going. At the last second, she released her remaining missiles point blank and pulled up in a maneuver that pulled 18 Gs. The platform exploded. Ara's vision grayed at the edges, but she stayed conscious. Behind her, Coalition observers watched in shock as she accelerated away from the explosion. How? Velthar demanded. How did she survive that? Pressure suits, Nari explained. They squeeze the body, forcing blood to the brain. Fighter pilots train their entire lives to handle extreme forces. And even then, Ara is exceptional. She can handle 20 Gs for short periods. Across the battlefield, human fighters executed impossible maneuvers. They flew close to swarm ships, using the organic hulls as shields. They timed their attacks to coincide with swarm firing patterns, exploiting split-second gaps. 3 fighters were destroyed, but they eliminated 12 weapons platforms. On the surface of Talvera, Sergeant Hannah June dropped from the sky in a combat pod. She landed in the middle of a swarm-infested industrial zone. Far from the safe areas, the pod's door blew open, and Hannah stepped out into an atmosphere that was toxic to most Coalition species. Her armor filtered the air. The temperature outside was 80 degrees above Coalition standard. Comfortable for a human, the gravity was 30% higher than normal. Also comfortable. This is Hannah, touchdown confirmed, beginning sweep. Behind her, 40 more Marines landed in combat pods. They spread out through the industrial complex, hunting swarm ground forces. The creatures were everywhere, 4-legged things with mandibles and acidic spit. A swarm soldier charged Hannah from an alley. She did not use her weapon. Instead, she waited until it was close, then punched it. Her armored fist, enhanced by human strength and powered servo, crushed the creature's head. Contact left. A Marine called over the comm. I see them, Hannah replied calmly. 20 swarm soldiers poured from a building, screeching their hunting calls. The Marines did not retreat. They advanced, firing their kinetic weapons in controlled bursts. The creatures that reached them in melee died quickly. Human Marines were trained in hand-to-hand combat from childhood. It was instinct. It was culture. It was who they were. Civilians located, another Marine reported. Building 12. They are trapped by swarm forces. All units, converge on Building 12, Hana ordered. We are getting them out. The Marines moved through the toxic environment like it was their natural habitat. They coordinated without speaking, using hand signals and shared tactical awareness. They reached Building 12 and found 30 swarm soldiers between them and the trapped colonists. Grenade Pattern 4, Hana said simply. The Marines threw small explosive devices in a practiced pattern. The explosions overlapped, creating a killing zone. The swarm soldiers died or scattered. The Marines pushed through, found the colonists, and began evacuation. In orbit, the battle continued. The 3 human frigates engaged the swarm fleet directly. They used tactics the coalition had never considered. The Iron Rain flew directly under a swarm cruiser, matching its course, and fired upward into its unarmored belly. The Stonewall rammed a smaller swarm ship, its reinforced prow tearing through organic armor. They are using their ships as weapons, Theknor said in disbelief. That will damage them severely. Damage can be repaired, Nari replied. Losing the battle cannot. The Steel Wind engaged 3 swarm ships simultaneously. It fired, moved, fired again, never staying still. Its armor was scarred and burning, but it kept fighting. Captain Hyundai, commanding the small fleet, watched from the frigate's bridge. Swarm flagship identified, his tactical officer reported. It is the largest vessel. It is coordinating their defense. Ara, do you have missiles left? Hyundai asked. 2, Captain. Target the flagship. Full attack run. We will provide cover fire. Understood. Going in. Ara's fighter, now scarred and damaged, accelerated toward the massive swarm flagship. It was 10 times the size of her tiny craft. Every weapon system on the ship targeted her. But the 3 frigates opened fire. Drawing some of the attention, Ara flew through hell. Plasma burned around her. Her shields were long dead. Pieces of her fighter's armor tore away. But she kept going. Human endurance, human stubbornship, human refusal to quit. She fired her last 2 missiles from point-blank range and pulled away, her fighter screaming warnings. The missiles, nuclear-tipped, punched through the flagship's hull and detonated inside. The swarm flagship tore itself apart from within. With their command ship destroyed, the swarm fleet lost coordination. Some ships fled, others fought on mindlessly. The human task force systematically destroyed them over the next 3 hours. By the time coalition reinforcements arrived, the battle was over. 40 swarm ships destroyed or driven off. 3 human frigates damaged but functional. 4 human fighters lost. Talvera was saved. Velthar stood on the bridge, staring at the reports. 14 hours. You said 14 hours until the swarm would breach the cities. They did it in 6 hours, Theknor repeated. He looked at Captain Hyundai, who had shuttled over to the coalition flagship. How? Hyundai looked tired. There were stress lines around his eyes, but he stood straight. Because we did not fight to minimize casualties. We fought to win. We took risks you would never take. We used tactics you would consider reckless. 72 fighters against 40 capital ships, the general said. That should have been impossible. For you, yes, Hyundai agreed. But we are not you. We evolved differently. We think differently. We fight differently. Era Minho entered the bridge, still in her flight suit. Her face was pale, her hands shaking slightly from the after effects of extreme acceleration. But she was alive. Commander, Velthar said. You flew directly into the enemy flagship's weapons. Why? Ara looked at him with those forward-facing predator eyes. Because someone had to. And I knew I could survive it. Humans do not ask others to take risks we would not take ourselves. Hana June arrived next, her armor scorched and dented. All civilians evacuated from the industrial zone. 47 rescued. 0 casualties. You fought in toxic atmosphere and high gravity, Theknor observed. That should have been impossible. Hana shrugged, a very human gesture. That is just a normal Tuesday for human Marines, sir. Over the next week, word spread through the coalition. Humanity had broken a siege that should have been unbreakable. They had saved 3 million colonists. They had done the impossible. The swarm, for the first time, seemed to pause. Their advance slowed. They began avoiding systems where human forces were present. Velthar met with Captain Hyundai in private. "The galaxy is talking about you. About all humans. They are calling you the Death World Warriors." "I have heard," Hyundai said. "It is not inaccurate. What happens now?" The captain looked out at the stars. "Now, Earth sends more ships, more soldiers, more resources. We told you, Ambassador. When humans commit to something, we commit fully." The swarm wanted a war. They are about to learn what that really means. "They will target human worlds," Velthar said quietly. "They will seek revenge." "Let them come," Hyundai replied. "We have been preparing for interstellar war for centuries, just in case." They wanted to fight predators. They are about to get their wish. Velthar felt a chill run through him. Not fear of the humans, but something deeper. Anticipation. For the first time since the war began, he felt hope. Real hope. The prey had found a predator to stand with them. And the swarm was about to learn what happens when you hunt something that hunts back. The war changed the day Earth's main fleet arrived. Velthar stood on the observation deck of the Coalition command station and watched as 5 massive vessels emerged from dark space. They were not like the frigates he had seen before. These were dreadnoughts, each one 3 kilometers long, bristling with weapons and armor. "I present Earth's first fleet," Captain Hyundai said quietly beside him. 60 years in construction. We hoped never to use them. But here we are." General Theknor studied the massive ships with professional interest. "How many humans crew each vessel?" 15,000 per ship, plus fighter wings, marine battalions, and support craft. 75,000 humans, the general calculated, in just 5 ships. "Earth's population is 8 billion, Dr. Nari Bora added. "We have a dozen more fleets in construction. When humans prepare for war, we do not prepare small." The largest dreadnought, the Eternal Horizon, became the mobile command center for combined operations. Its captain, a stern woman named Saman Haq, coordinated with coalition forces across 20 systems. "Here is what we know," Saman said in the first strategic meeting. "The swarm has a central intelligence. They call it the Queen. She is not just a leader. She is a hive mind that coordinates all swarm forces. Find her, kill her, and the swarm collapses into chaos. We have been trying to locate the Queen for 3 cycles, Theknor said. She is always hidden, always moving. Lieutenant Jiho Kang, now promoted to strategic coordinator, brought up a star map. She moves, yes. But there is a pattern. The swarm always maintains supply lines to conquered worlds. The Queen needs resources. If we cut off enough supply routes, she will be forced to respond directly. That would require coordinated attacks across multiple systems, Velthar said. We do not have enough ships. We do now, Saman replied. Coalition and human forces combined, we can strike simultaneously at 12 major swarm strongholds. We choke their logistics. We force them to concentrate their forces. Then we hit them hard. This is total war, Theknor said slowly. Everything committed. No reserves. Yes. Saman agreed. That is how Earth fights. When we go to war, every resource, every ship, every soldier is part of the fight. We do not hold back. The coalition had never fought this way. They preserved forces. They maintained defensive positions. They thought in terms of years-long campaigns. But humans thought differently. Over the next month, combined forces executed the plan. Human dreadnoughts led assaults on fortified swarm worlds. Coalition ships provided support and logistics. Marine units from both forces cooperated, with humans teaching coalition soldiers new tactics. Major Yuna Taeyang ran training camps for coalition Marines. She taught them human combat philosophy: adapt, improvise, overcome. She showed them how to fight in hostile environments, How to turn disadvantages into advantages. You are stronger than you think, she told a group of Torvian soldiers. Your species is slow, yes. But you are methodical. You do not panic. Use that. Let the enemy come to you. Then crush them with superior positioning. Engineer Wu Isowol worked with coalition technicians, upgrading their ships with human innovations. Better shields, more efficient engines, weapons that hit harder. She explained human engineering philosophy. Coalition technology is elegant, she said. Everything is efficient and beautiful. Human technology is ugly and effective. We build things to work under the worst conditions. We over-engineer everything because we expect things to break. The combined assaults worked. Swarm strongholds fell, supply lines were severed. The swarm began consolidating forces, pulling back from extended positions. Then the Queen made her move. We have a problem, Jiho announced during a command briefing. The swarm has located Earth. Silence fell over the room. Captain Hyundai, who rarely showed emotion, went pale. Confirm that. Confirmed. Long-range sensors show a massive swarm fleet forming. At least 200 ships. And something else. A vessel 50 kilometers long. That is the Queen's ship. She is coming to Earth herself. Velthar felt his hearts clench. The humans had helped save dozens of coalition worlds. Now their own home faced destruction. Earth's defense grid is strong, Salmon said, but her voice was tight. We have orbital platforms, minefields, defensive fleets. We can hold. For how long? Theknor asked bluntly. Long enough, Hyundai said firmly. But we need to recall all human ships immediately. No, Velthar stood suddenly. Captain, you cannot abandon the coalition forces. We are in the middle of coordinated operations. If you pull out now, the swarm will destroy us. Ambassador, this is Earth. This is our home. And you told us that when you commit fully, Velthar said. We will go to Earth. All of us. The coalition owes humanity a debt. Let us help defend your world. Theknor nodded slowly. The ambassador is right. We cannot let Earth fall. Not after everything. I will order all available coalition ships to Sol System. Hyundai looked between them, emotions warring on his face. Finally, he nodded. Thank you. Both of you. The combined fleet converged on Sol System over the next week. 50 coalition ships joined with 30 human vessels. It was the largest fleet ever assembled. But the swarm force was enormous. 200 ships, plus the Queen's massive bio-vessel. Velthar stood on the bridge of the eternal horizon as they dropped out of dark space near Earth. He saw the blue-green planet for the first time. The human homeworld. It was beautiful. And it was about to become a battlefield. The swarm will arrive in 6 hours, Jiho reported. They are not hiding. They are coming straight in. Then we meet them at the system's edge, Captain Samenhak commanded. All ships, battle formation. Earth defense grid, prepare for engagement. The hours crawled by. Human and coalition crews worked side by side, preparing weapons, checking shields, running simulations. Velthar watched them and marveled. A year ago, these species had never met. Now they fought together. The swarm arrived like a plague, ships by the hundreds, all organic and terrifying. The Queen's vessel was at the center. A massive thing that looked like it had been grown rather than built. Pulsing veins covered its hull. Bioplasma generators glowed like infected wounds. She is broadcasting, Nari reported, studying the communication signals. Not words. Emotions. Hatred. Hunger. Triumph. She thinks she has already won. Then she does not know humans, Hyundai said quietly. The battle began at maximum range. Both sides fired everything they had. Space lit up with weapons fire. Swarm plasma met human missiles and coalition energy beams. Ships died on both sides, but the swarm kept coming. They accepted losses that would break any other force. For every ship destroyed, another pushed forward. They were trying to overwhelm through pure numbers. Fall back to the inner defense grid, Salmon ordered. Make them come to us. The combined fleet retreated to Earth's orbital space, where automated defense platforms waited. The swarm followed, straight into the killing zone. Mines detonated. Defense platforms opened fire. Human dreadnoughts used Earth's gravity to execute impossible maneuvers. Coalition ships provided covering fire and electronic warfare support. The battle raged for hours. Velthar lost count of how many ships died. The space around Earth became a graveyard. But still, the swarm came. The Queen's ship is advancing, Jiho reported. She is heading directly for Earth. All ships, concentrate fire on the Queen, Salmon commanded. Every weapon turned toward the massive bio-vessel. It was like attacking a small moon. Missiles and plasma washed over its hull. The Queen's shields flared but held. We cannot penetrate, Theknor reported from his command ship. The shields are too strong. Then we go inside, Major Yuna said over the comm. Captain Salmon, I need a boarding team. We take the fight to her directly. That is suicide. Velthar protested. Maybe, Yuna agreed. But sitting here losing ships is also death. At least this way, we fight back. Salmon looked at Captain Hyundai. He nodded slowly. Do it. Take volunteers only. No one goes who does not choose this. 500 human Marines volunteered immediately. Sergeant Hana Jun led the first wave. They loaded into assault craft and launched toward the Queen's vessel, dodging through the battle. Velthar watched their progress on tactical displays. The assault craft punched through the Queen's shields, using human-designed shield disruptors. They crashed into the bio-vessel's hull and burned their way inside. We are in, Hana reported. Her voice was calm despite the chaos around her. This is incredible. The inside is like being inside a living creature. Everything is organic. The Marines pushed deeper into the ship. They fought swarm soldiers in corridors made of flesh and bone. The Queen's vessel fought back, sealing passages and releasing toxic gas. Gas does not work on us, Hannah reported. Our suits filter it. Keep moving forward. On the Eternal Horizons bridge, Nari monitored biological readings from the Queen's ship. The Marines are heading toward the central chamber. That is where the Queen will be. But the readings are strange. She is not just a creature, she is connected to the entire ship. Killing her might destroy the vessel. Better the ship is destroyed than Earth, Hyundai said grimly. The Marines reached the central chamber. Hana kicked open the final door and found herself face to face with the Swarm Queen. She was enormous, easily 20 meters tall, a thing of chitin and malevolence. Her mind pressed against them, trying to break their will. But humans had faced fear before. They had evolved with nightmares. They did not break easily. All units, Hana said calmly. Target the Queen. Fire everything. The Marines unleashed every weapon they carried. Explosive rounds, plasma charges, incendiary grenades. The Queen screamed, a sound that registered on every sensor in the system. She thrashed, killing dozens of Marines with her massive limbs. But humans kept fighting. They accepted losses. They pushed forward. More Marines poured through the doors. More weapons fired. Hana herself ran forward, planted a nuclear device at the base of the Queen's body, and activated the timer. 30 seconds. Everyone out. The Marines retreated, running through corridors that were now convulsing. The Queen's ship was dying with her. They reached the assault craft and launched away from the bio-vessel. The nuclear device detonated. The Queen died. Her ship tore apart, massive chunks of organic matter spinning off into space. Across the battlefield, every swarm ship suddenly went dark. Without the Queen's coordination, they were just mindless vessels. The combined fleet systematically destroyed them over the next hour. When it was over, Velthar stood among the exhausted crew and looked at the casualty reports. 3 human dreadnoughts destroyed. 12 coalition ships lost. 8,000 humans dead. 4,000 coalition soldiers killed. But Earth survived. Humanity survived. And the Swarm Queen was dead. Captain Hyundai stood at the viewport, looking at his homeworld. Tears ran down his face. He did not try to hide them. "We won," he said quietly. "We actually won." 6 months after the death of the Swarm Queen, Velthar walked through the rebuilt sections of Station Calith 9. It had been damaged in that first swarm attack. The day humanity revealed itself to the galaxy. Now it served as the headquarters for the Coalition Human Alliance. The war was over. Without the Queen's coordination, the swarm forces had collapsed. Individual ships fled into dark space or were hunted down. Infested worlds were being reclaimed. The galaxy was healing, but the cost had been high. Velthar entered the Memorial Hall, a new addition to the station. The walls displayed names, thousands of them. Human and Coalition, side by side, the dead from a war that should never have been necessary. "I come here often," a voice said behind him. Captain Hyundai stood in the doorway, older now, with gray in his hair that had not been there a year ago. "To remember what we paid. 12,000 humans," Velthar said quietly, reading the count. 8,000 coalition soldiers. 23 worlds damaged. Countless civilians lost before we could stop them. "Yes," Hyundai joined him, looking at the names. "War always costs. That is why we avoided it for so long. And now? Now we cannot go back. Humanity is part of the galaxy. For better or worse." They walked together to the command center. The room was busy with activity. Human and Coalition officers worked side by side, coordinating reconstruction efforts. Dr. Naribora was explaining human medical techniques to a group of Torvian doctors. Engineer Wu Isul was teaching Zelki technicians about human engine designs. General Theknor approached them, his massive frame somehow seeming smaller than before. The war had changed him too. "Captain. Ambassador. The Coalition Council has reached a decision." "Go on," Velthar said. "We are offering humanity a permanent seat on the Council. Equal status with all Coalition species. In recognition of your sacrifices and your contributions." Hyundai was quiet for a long moment. "That is a great honor. But also, a great responsibility. You told me once that responsibility comes with cost," Velthar reminded him. "You accepted that cost when you chose to fight beside us." "I did," Hyundai agreed. "And on behalf of humanity, I accept the council seat. We will help build a better galaxy. Together." The following week, Earth hosted the first joint celebration between humans and Coalition species. Velthar stood on the surface of humanity's homeworld for the first time, feeling the heavy gravity that humans considered normal. It was exhausting just to walk. No wonder they were so strong. The celebration was held in a city called Sol, one of Earth's oldest settlements. Millions attended. Human children played with young Torvians and Selkie. Coalition dignitaries sampled human food and music. It was chaotic and loud and wonderful. Major Yuna Taeyang found Velthar in the crowd. She walked with a slight limp now, an injury from the battle with the Queen that had not fully healed. But her spirit was undiminished. "Ambassador," she said warmly. "Are you enjoying the celebration?" "It is overwhelming," Velthar admitted. "Humans celebrate with great enthusiasm." "We earned it," Yuna said. "We all did." Sergeant Hana Jun joined them, carrying a plate of food from different worlds. Human, Torvian, Horvath, and Zelki dishes, mixed together. "Try this," she insisted. "Cultural fusion. It is the future." Commander Araminho was there too, still in her fighter pilot jacket despite the formal occasion. "The future is already here," she said. "Yesterday, I flew a training mission with a Zelki pilot. They are fast learners. In a few years, we will have mixed squadrons." "Mixed everything," Engineer Isel added, joining the group. "I am working with a Horvath engineer on a new ship design. Human toughness with Coalition elegance. The best of both." 92. Engineer. A 92. Velthar looked around at them. These humans, who had changed everything. Yuna, who led Marines into impossible situations. Hana, who planted the bomb that killed the Queen. Ara, who flew through fire without flinching. Isul, who quietly revolutionized coalition technology. And Hyundai, who made the choice to bring humanity out of isolation. What will you do now? Velthar asked them. The war is over. The fighting is over, Hyundai corrected, arriving with Dr. Nari Bora. But there is much work ahead. Rebuilding worlds. Establishing trade. Teaching the coalition about human culture. And learning about yours, Nari nodded enthusiastically. I am opening a xenobiology research center. Human and coalition scientists working together. We have so much to learn from each other. And I am returning to Fleet Command, Hyundai said. Someone needs to coordinate the Joint Defense Forces. The swarm is gone. But the galaxy is large. There will be other threats eventually. Lieutenant Jiho Kang, now a full commander, added his thoughts. We are also establishing a tactical academy. Teaching coalition species, human military doctrine, and learning their approaches, making us all better. You make it sound permanent, Theknor observed, joining them with a glass of human wine. As if humans will always be part of the coalition defense. We will, Hyundai said simply. We chose this. We cannot undo it. Nor would we want to. The celebration continued into the night. Velthar found himself on a balcony overlooking the city. The lights of Sol sparkled below. In the sky, coalition and human ships orbited together, their formations perfectly coordinated. Thinking about the future? Nari asked, stepping out onto the balcony. Thinking about the past, Velthar admitted. A year ago, humanity was a legend. A whispered story from ancient times. Now you are real. You are here. You are part of everything. Does that frighten you? Sometimes, Velthar said honestly. Humans are powerful. You think differently than us. You approach problems with solutions we would never consider. Sometimes those solutions are violent. Yes, Nari agreed. We are capable of great violence. We are predators. That will never change. But we are also capable of great compassion. We chose to help you. Remember, we did not have to. We could have stayed hidden. Why did you come? Velthar asked the question that had troubled him since the beginning. Really? Why reveal yourselves after 800 cycles? Nari was quiet for a moment. Because isolation is not living. It is just slow death. Humanity was safe. Yes. But we were alone. When we heard your distress calls, when we saw the swarm destroying worlds, we had a choice. Stay hidden and survive. Or step forward and live. We chose living. And now? Now we build something new. A galaxy where predator and prey work together. Where different species combine their strengths. It will not be easy. There will be conflicts and misunderstandings, but it will be real. Below them, a group of human children were teaching Torvian children a game. The Torvians were slow and careful. The human children were fast and energetic, but they found a way to play together, adapting the rules to work for everyone. Look at them, Nari said softly. That is the future. Not us. Not the old ones who remember war. Them. The children who will grow up knowing each other. Who will think of each other as normal. Human and coalition together, Velthar said. Just people, Nari corrected. Different kinds of people. But people. Months passed. The coalition-human alliance grew stronger. Trade routes opened. Cultural exchanges became common. Human engineers worked on coalition worlds. Coalition artists performed on Earth. The boundaries between them began to blur, but not everyone adapted easily. Some humans missed their isolation. Some coalition species feared human power. There were protests and disagreements. The process was messy and complicated. Change always is. Hyundai told Velthar during one particularly difficult negotiation. But it is necessary. We cannot go back. We can only go forward. A year after the war ended, Velthar was invited to speak at Earth's Global Assembly. He stood before representatives from all human nations, feeling the weight of their attention. "When I first saw your ship," he began, "I thought I was seeing ghosts. The old ones from legend, returned from the dark. I did not know what to expect. I was afraid." He paused, looking out at the sea of human faces. "I am still afraid sometimes. Not of you, but of what we are building together. It is unprecedented. It is difficult. It is messy and complicated. But it is also beautiful. You saved us. Not just from the swarm, but from ourselves. You showed us that there are other ways to think, other ways to fight, other ways to live. You reminded us that strength comes in many forms. In return, I hope we have shown you something too. That community matters. That connection is worth the risk. That being part of something larger than yourself gives life meaning. You were a legend, a whispered story. But now you are real. You are our allies, our friends, our partners in building a better galaxy. Thank you for stepping out of the dark. Thank you for fighting beside us. Thank you for choosing to live." The chamber erupted in applause. Human and coalition delegates alike stood and cheered. Velthar saw tears on many faces. Humans cried easily, he had learned. They felt emotions deeply, and showed them openly. Later, in a quiet moment, Velthar found himself in Earth's memorial garden. It was a place set aside to honor all who died in the war. Names were carved into stone pillars, human and coalition names together. Captain Hyundai was there, as he often was. "I lost friends," he said quietly. "Good people who should be alive right now. Sometimes I wonder if it was worth it." "And what do you conclude?" Velthar asked. "That their sacrifice gave meaning to the future. They died so that children today can play together. So that species who never met can now work side by side. So that the galaxy can be better." "That is a heavy burden." "Yes," Hyundai agreed. "But it is one I choose to carry. We all do." They stood in silence for a while. Two beings from different worlds, united by shared experience and loss. "What happens next?" Velthar asked finally. Hyundai smiled. "We build. We grow. We face whatever comes together. The swarm is gone. But the galaxy is vast. There will be other challenges, other threats, other opportunities, and humanity will face them with us. Always," Hyundai promised. "That is what it means to be part of something larger than yourself. You do not run when things get difficult. You stay. You fight. You build." "The legend has become reality." "No," Hyundai corrected gently. "The legend was always just a story. What we have now is better. It is real. It is complicated. It is imperfect. But it is ours." In the years that followed, the story spread across the galaxy, not as a legend, but as history. The tale of how humanity emerged from isolation to save the coalition. How predator and prey learned to work together, how different species found common ground. Children grew up hearing the story. They heard about Captain Hyundai, who made the choice to reveal humanity. About Dr. Nari Bora, who built bridges between species. About Major Yuna Taeyang, who led Marines into impossible battles. About Sergeant Hana Jun, who killed a queen. About Commander Ara Minho, who flew through fire. About Engineer Isul, who made ships stronger. And about Ambassador Velthar, who chose to trust the strangers from the dark. The story became part of galactic culture. In coalition schools, human and alien children learned together. They played games where everyone wanted to be the human. Because humans were brave and strong, and never gave up. But they also learned the deeper lesson. That humanity's true strength was not violence or endurance. It was choice. The choice to help. The choice to risk. The choice to connect. Humanity had been a whispered legend. Then they entered the fight. And the galaxy would never be the same. But perhaps that was not a bad thing. Perhaps the galaxy needed to change, needed to remember that legends exist for a reason, not as warnings, but as hope waiting to be fulfilled. And sometimes, when you call for help in the dark, something answers, something strong and brave and impossibly stubborn, something human,